Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, December 31st, 2022. It's also New Year's Eve, which means that tomorrow is New Year's Day, and I hope that you all have a wonderful new year when it comes. Before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let's take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see where we have a cold front right there from the northeastern portions of the North Atlantic, stretching down into portions of the mid-central Atlantic. And we can also see a cold front that's affecting portions of the eastern United States. And if we actually take a look at the satellite images, we can see the clouds associated with that first cold front, as well as the clouds associated with that second cold front that's affecting portions of the eastern United States with overcast skies, showers, and thunderstorms. Let's focus our attention on Jamaica right now. We can see where for the most part we've been having a sunny day, and then it became partly cloudy across portions of inland areas of the island. So portions of northern St. Andrew, northern St. Catherine, inland areas of St. Elizabeth, inland areas of St. James, portions of Westmoreland and Hanover got in on some amount of overcast skies and isolated showers. And if we actually take a look at Doppler radar images, we can see the green and the yellows that represent some amount of rainfall coming off of the coast of Hanover in the evening hours. And if we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, the same areas that were just mentioned on satellite images is what is highlighted here that receives some amount of rainfall up into the 10 to 15 millimeter range. So northern St. Catherine, northern St. Andrew, northern Clarendon, southern St. James, northern St. Elizabeth, portions of Westmoreland and Hanover. Let's talk about temperatures. So we can see where so far we have 26 degrees Celsius in Moran Bay for this evening right now. We can see 27 in Montego Bay, 27 in Chapelton in Clarendon, and 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston. And that's supposed to get lower as the night progresses. Let's talk about the average temperatures that we usually receive across the island. So considering that we're moving now into the month of January, we get 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and when we convert that, that's about, let's say, in the 30 degrees Celsius range right there. So anywhere from 29 to 32 degrees Celsius is what we usually experience this time of year. And for tomorrow, we're still in the average to slightly above average temperature range according to the Euro model, with these gold colors that represent 1 degree Celsius above average. So we are in the neck of the woods where we're supposed to be in terms of temperatures across Jamaica. You can see where there's a big warm up going on across portions of the eastern United States. That cold front that has been affecting portions of those areas has taken its leave, so the warm temperatures are back into play. Let's talk about the wind forecast for tomorrow. We can see where we're going to be having an easterly wind across the island, not so strong as what we were getting for the past couple of days. And the GFS model agrees with that, with more of a northeasterly flow, especially across portions of northern Jamaica for tomorrow. If we're going to be getting some amount of afternoon rainfall in the afternoon, more than likely the wind shear, if the clouds should tower up high, let's say we will be having some amount of northwesterly wind shear across the island, and both the Euro and the GFS agrees with that. Let's talk about the average rainfall that we usually get across the island for the year. So January we usually get less than an inch of rainfall. We can see where January, February, and March are the driest months of the year. That's why this is our dry season at this time. However, the models are in agreement that we might have some amount of rainfall tomorrow. Let's look at the Euro. The Euro at 2 p.m. tomorrow showing some blues across portions of the island, especially northern parishes, and the GFS agrees with this. So we're going to be having some amount of rainfall, especially on the north coast in the morning. So get ready for that. According to the accumulated precipitation map, we can see where we have some amount of rainfall being predicted by the Euro, especially for portions of St. James, Hanover, as well as Kingston, St. Andrew, up to 0.27 inches of rainfall. However, the GFS is not so robust with the amount of rainfall across St. James and Kingston and St. Andrew. We see most of the rainfall across portions of northern Jamaica. So it makes sense considering that the GFS is showing more of a northeasterly flow across the island. So portions of St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland could get in on some of that rainfall if the GFS is correct. So it makes sense that our workers here with the Jamaica made a post stating that we're going to be receiving some amount of rainfall tomorrow, New Year's Day. So ensure that you get that laundry done early. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's talk more about the Caribbean as well as the long range forecast across the Caribbean in general. So as stated, yes, we have that cold front bringing overcast skies and showers to portions of the eastern United States. We can also see a lot of low-level clouds bringing some amount of rainfall into portions of the Windward Islands and the Leeward Islands as well. So all of these low-level clouds coming in from east to west. Also some clouds coming into portions of the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, right there. We can also see a train of clouds coming into portions of Nicaragua as well to bring some amount of rainfall there. And if we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images down in the Caribbean, we can see that yes, we have some greens that represent some amount of isolated rainfall across portions of the eastern Caribbean. So even Puerto Rico getting in on some amount of rainfall, the US Virgin Islands, portions of Guadeloupe and Dominica. So we don't need some massive systems, tropical waves, troughs, tropical storms to bring rain. We're going to be getting rainfall either way from some amount of low level clouds. Alright, so let us take a look at the temperature map, the sea surface temperature map across the Atlantic. So we're seeing that we're having a big cool down across the main development region. We still have above normal sea surface temperatures in the subtropics, however, so portions of the Gulf of Mexico, portions of the eastern United States, all the way over into portions of the western coast of Africa, getting in on some amount of warm sea surface temperatures. Also, if we actually take a look at the wider view, we can still see that we have that La Nina right there off the west coast of South America. We know that when we have La Ninas, we have less things prohibiting the development of tropical storms and so on across portions of the Atlantic. So if we indeed get that La Nina again into the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season, then we might have another above average year. We shall see what happens with that. According to most, looking at the entire Atlantic, we can see where most of the Atlantic we're having strong wind shear. So that's another factor as to why we don't get that kind of weather in January, February, March. Lots of strong wind shear across the Atlantic, keeping things stable. Not to mention the amount of dry air that's across the Atlantic. Showed this map recently on our Twitter page, and person thought that it would have been Saharan dust. No, it's not Saharan dust. It's dry air, and we know that it's dry air because when we go outside we see that the sky is blue rather than the hazy color that the Saharan dust would normally bring. So this is dry air. Dry air is also a factor that prohibits all of the rainfall that we normally get, and this is what is actually showing the Saharan dust. So we can see where all of those browns represent the Saharan dust. Yes, it's still coming into the Caribbean, but it is not that robust. So more than likely portions of the eastern Caribbean is what's going to be receiving that Saharan dust. So Trinidad and Tobago, Windward and Leeward Islands, and we notice that when it gets to the central Caribbean, it dissipates. So that's Monday into Tuesday. That's from now up to January 3rd. So we're not going to be having the Saharan dust trailing all the way into the central and western Caribbean to affect portions of Jamaica or the western portions of the basin. So Belize, not so much, seems to die out as it heads its way into portions of South America right there. And if we actually take a look at the wind forecast, all of these easterly winds being sent by the high pressure ridge according to the Euro and the GFS is what is sending all of that dry air associated with the Saharan dust into portions of South America rather than into the western Caribbean or up into the United States. And if we actually take a look at the precipitation forecast, we can see where yes, we're gonna be getting some amount of rainfall if we're not already getting it right now. So all of this is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. So eastern Puerto Rico, portions of the US Virgin Islands. We can also see portions of Guadeloupe and Dominica getting in on some of the rainfall, portions of Barbados, portions of St. Lucia and portions of South America as well. So portions of Venezuela, eastern Venezuela, and Guyana getting in on some amount of rainfall there. We can also see some amount of rainfall into portions of Nicaragua. So all of that trail of clouds that we saw earlier, yes, from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday, that's the amount of rainfall that they should get, up to even an inch of rainfall. That's according to the Euro. And if we look at the GFS, we actually have some amount of consensus with that rainfall across portions of Nicaragua, as well as the rainfall across portions of Dominica, Guadeloupe, portions of eastern Puerto Rico as well. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are higher. Yes, we have some rainfall on the GFS for Trinidad, but not so much on the Euro. We also have that rainfall for portions of eastern Venezuela and the Guyana as well. If we actually take a look at the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum page, we can see that as it relates to rainfall, we're going to be having drier than normal conditions across portions of the western and northwestern Caribbean. So portions of Belize, portions of Cayman, Cuba, and the Bahamas should be having below average rainfall. Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, average amount of rainfall for this time of year for January. However, the Eastern Caribbean, just like what was just shown, portions of the Leeward and Windward Islands, as well as portions of South America, so eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana getting in on above normal rainfall. And if we actually take a look at the climate forecast system, we can see where it makes sense that their forecast for January actually shows that rainfall for portions of, well, average rainfall for January for Jamaica, portions of Hispaniola, average rainfall for Puerto Rico, but the above normal rainfall comes into portions of South America, the same areas that were just mentioned. The CANSIPS model is showing something similar. Yes, Jamaica, Hispaniola, portions of southern portions of the basin, so South America as well. However, the NMME model slightly disagrees with the amount of rainfall that's expected across the Greater Antilles and Eastern Caribbean. However, it's in agreement with what they have been saying about portions of South America. So yes, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana might get in on some of the rainfall. And if you actually take a look at the Climate Prediction Center, they are predicting some amount of rainfall, some amount of above average rainfall for January 4th to January 10th for portions of the Eastern Caribbean. Right there, if we actually take a closer look, some greens right there into portions of the Eastern Caribbean, south of Jamaica, not so much in the Jamaica area. And this coincides with what the Euro model is showing for the next 10 days from now up until January 10th. Yes, portions of the eastern portions of the Caribbean getting up to even 4 inches of rainfall right there. Some parts of Jamaica might get in on some of the rainfall as well, but not as robust as what the Eastern Caribbean is forecast to get. The GFS slightly disagrees. This goes up to the same time, up to January 10th. Not so much for the Eastern Caribbean according to the GFS. So there's somewhat of disagreement right there. Getting in on some rainfall according to the GFS for Eastern Jamaica, portions of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. However, we see the agreement with portions of South America. So portions of Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana is what it is calling for. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.